Water, within the context of the Nigerian economy, is tied into the various sectors and is essential for generating broad-based growth necessary for national development. Hence, its importance goes beyond domestic usage. This government remains committed to bringing about effective development of water resources as a critical infrastructure sector and as a social service to Nigerians. The plan to get things working requires the input, understanding, and cooperation of Nigerians and other stakeholders. This can only be achieved through the effective communication of the Federal Ministry of Water Resources goals, objectives, and benefits to Nigerians out there. Welcome to the maiden edition of Water for Life. This program showcases, educates, and informs Nigerians about water and the great efforts the government is making in providing it. We will hear from the people, that is you. We will also hear from the Honorable Minister of Water Resources, the Permanent Secretary, directors of the various departments. Stay with us.
The Federal Ministry of Water Resources was recreated by President Goodluck Jonathan in April 2010. The relevance of water to Nigeria's development has progressively increased over the years with rapid population growth, urbanization, agriculture, and industrial development. Water is considered mankind's most unique and indispensable natural resource to manage. The imbalance in the water infrastructure development, population increase, and rapid urbanization rates has created a serious deficiency in the quality of life of an average Nigerian, with its dire consequence on sanitation, food security, health, employment, and standard of living. The federal government, through the Federal Ministry of Water Resources, has observed the need to develop a roadmap for water resources development to put the nation back on track in achieving the Vision 2020 targets, Millennium Development Goals, MDG targets for 2015, and the Africa Water Vision in 2025. It is the recognition of this critical issue and gap that led to the necessity for the rebirth of the Nigerian water sector reform.
Let me also indicate that the federal government will make available an intervention to ensure that all around the country, our impact in terms of potable water, dams, irrigation standards, and drain standards is carried forward. I hereby launch this roadmap for effective implementation. Thank you.
The Federal Ministry of Water Resources has the responsibility to formulate and implement the Water Resources Master Plan for the overall development of the water resources of the country, and this is to be done in a systematic, integrated, and coordinated manner.
To ensure a holistic approach and systematic overhauling of the sector, the water sector reforms is being conducted over short-term, medium-term, and long-term periods. Strategies have been developed for each time frame.
The policies and programs focused towards integrated management of water resources of the country. Nigeria is a country that is highly endowed with water resources. We are one of the least stressed countries in terms of water. All parts of Nigeria are well drained hydrologically, which means that there's water everywhere in Nigeria. So the ministry's programs and projects are all directed at managing this water in a sustainable manner.
Nigeria has heat water resources potential estimated at 267 billion cubic meters of surface water and 92 billion cubic meters of groundwater. The current water supply service coverage in the country is 58%, while sanitation is 40%. About half of Nigeria's population is without access to potable water supply. This represents about 6% of the world's population who do not have access to safe drinking water.
We have made some progress. In the year 2000, we were at 30% level of access in terms of water supply. And we have now come up to about 58%. Now, with regard to implementation program, at the federal level, the federal government, through the transformation agenda, has lined up a number of programs that will be targeted to the rural communities, to the small towns, and also to urban water supply. This will involve rehabilitation, expansion, and upgrading of major township water supply. It will also include rehabilitation of dysfunctional hand pump and motorized boreholes nationwide. It will also involve provision of solar-powered systems nationwide. In some cases, we take it at a number of schemes per local government or a number of schemes per senatorial district. So the spread is quite large, and we envisage that if this is done successfully, the country has a good chance of attaining the MDG target by the 2016.
Well, there's constant water in my area because I live in Kubwa. Kubwa Federal Housing precisely, and the water board supplies us water constantly. We don't have shortage of water at all.
It is very unfortunate that FCT here, there is no water. They should put we stay in the satellite area into consideration. Of course, this is FCT for crying out loud. They should make water provision for us. They should provide water. It's part of the social amenities. As a citizen of the country, we ought to enjoy.
Well, are you ready to pay for water?
Of course, why not? If I can patronize Merua, what will stop me from paying my bills?
No water. As in terms of the water board being functioning, so I don't think we have water there. What we normally use is either if you have money, you can dig your well, then you connect your pipe electrically, then you pump water. That's just of using water board. We don't have water board there.
Okay. Do you have water in your area?
There is water, but we are buying it. But we have water. Anytime we want water, we get it.
Water for drinking?
Water for drinking.
Water for bathing?
Water for bathing.
So if the government provides water, are you ready to pay for it?
Of course, we are ready to pay. That would be more better.
If they provide water, are you willing to pay for it?
Yes, of course. If government does provide water, and they give us their water bill, and we have to pay for it.
Yes, the water board brings water, but we also have a supplement. We have a deep well, where water, can flow in, supporting the water board is not functioning. So that's what happens. But it's a once in a while thing. It's not a regular thing.
The Nigerians have come to believe that it's no more a social service, water, that it's a commercial service. And you should not have a service that you produce today, tomorrow you don't give. And therefore, I think we have all been civic enough. People are paying their bill. I think we want to work harder and make sure that every property is built, and so that we can have enough money to continue to produce water, both in quantity and quality, to give to our citizens so that everybody will be happy. We recognize how important water is, and that's why we work round the clock to make sure that there's no failure. I want to promise that we'll continue to do that. I want to also beg and appeal to our customers to keep faith with us and pay their bills so that we can survive.
According to the World Health Organization, 1.8 million people die annually from waterborne diseases, 90% being children less than 5 years old, and concentrated largely in developing countries such as Nigeria. About 194,000 children under 5 years old die annually in Nigeria due to cholera, diarrhea, and other related waterborne
Sanitation is enough to make sure that
we reduce the type of diseases we have in Nigeria by over 80% if we can apply simple hand washing, if you can apply simple hygiene behaviors, hygiene practices.
We dey take our hand do plenty things. They can count money, they can wash small pikin bum, even they can catch chicken. We must take care of our hands well as we dey use our hands so. Now so then we take carry germs. We must make sure say we wash our hand with soap and water or ashes and water. You will just come up from latrine. You won't take the same hand chop. You don't wash your hand with soap and water. No, wash your hand with soap and water or ashes and water after you go latrine.
Mama baby, now when you don't wash your pikin bum, make you wash your hand with soap and water or ashes and water after you wash your pikin bum. Even when you touch cow, whether not to kill am for chop, make you wash your hand with soap or ashes and water before you touch anything, whether not food, before you chop, even before you carry pikin.
Mama, stop. No carry me. You don't wash your hand with soap and water.
My sister, if you don't wash your hand with soap and water, now him say you want carry jam put for the food when you want cook be that. Make you wash your hand with soap and water or ashes and water before you begin cook.
Stay healthy. Wash your hands regularly.
We are working in tandem with UNICEF on this program. And the whole idea is to make sure that the community themselves are involved in monitoring and keeping surveillance over the water they drink, right from the source to the household level where this water is consumed.
Nigeria has witnessed an upsurge in dam construction in the past 3 decades. Nigeria currently has over 200 dams with a combined storage capacity of 34 billion cubic meters. This is capable of irrigating about 500,000 hectares of land. Nigeria has the potential to irrigate about 3.1 million hectares of farmland, but only 150,000 hectares has been fully developed. Irrigation has potential of increasing agricultural productivity by as much as 10 folds. Fishery can be greatly enhanced by effective utilization of dams' irrigation facility.
Dams also are used for flood control. I gave an example of Kashimbila, which is a dam that is meant to control a flood that might come from Cameroon. The lake there, Lake Nyos, which is threatening to break, is going to send about 50 million cubic meters of water into a valley at terrific speed coming to Nigeria, about Kasinala. And Cameroon will not have the effect of that. Nigeria will have the effect because it comes straight under torrent into Nigeria. So as it comes to Nigeria, the valley opens, so it is going to flood a huge environment. So Nigeria has taken, the government has taken a measure, and we're constructing a dam to protect it. But we realize that this dam, if the lake does not break, because it's a geologic event, if it doesn't break at the time, the dam should be able to impound enough water for us to use. So initially we have about 300 million cubic meters of water. But when we realize that the resources in the environment is so, water resources is very large, and the configuration of the environment is so propitious for hydropower development, we now say, okay, let's include all this development into it, plus water supply and irrigation. So we increase the volume to about 500 million cubic meters. And also now increase the power generation from 6 megawatts to 40 megawatts. So right now, a dam that is meant for flood control is also being used for other purposes.
Our population is over 150 million, and it's growing at a rapid pace. We also know that the land area of Nigeria is fixed. There's no new land being created. The amount of land we have available to grow food is fixed. Given that situation, we have to produce more food to feed a growing population. That means that every piece of land we have has to produce more than it used to produce in order to feed more people. Now, one of the best ways of doing this is to introduce irrigation because irrigation allows you to crop as many as 3 times a year. For a very good farmer, you can produce 3 crops a year instead of 1, which you would normally have produced under rain-fed. So automatically, by merely doing that, you have tripled the amount of food you can produce on the same piece of land. Now, if you add to that other factors such as improved seeds, fertilizer, tractorization, you can actually improve the productivity of land by as much as 10 times. So it makes sense to do irrigation, because that is a way of increasing how much food you produce from the same land mass. Irrigation projects are not things that you buy off the shelf. They are infrastructure projects. Even if you have the money available today, it will take time to put this infrastructure in place. We are doing everything humanly possible within the resources available to ensure that irrigated farms are delivered to the farmers so that they can produce.
That a government is coming in to assist. Who am I to have been able to cultivate 52 hectares of land without government intervention? So I give kudos to our government.
The world is rapidly going through a period of climate change. This global phenomenon has the capacity to change the water supply levels and the requirements of managing water resources in Nigeria.
The water is becoming scarce in some areas, and in some parts of the world there are already water wars. And so we try to manage both the surface and underground water of the country in a way that is sustainable.
The bottle on the right contains water straight from the river. The one on the left contains treated water. So what does it take to turn this contaminated raw river water into purified drinking water? These 2 circles represent 2 20-liter buckets of water. They are pumped up by these big pumps through these big pipes up the hill to the water treatment plant. When the water gets to the treatment plant, it goes first through the aeration tank. Here, oxygen is added to the water to set off a chemical reaction that makes it possible to remove minerals like iron from the water. The oxygen and iron bond together. These particles then sink to the bottom of the tank. The water is now ready for the next treatment stage and pumped to the flocculator. We take a sample of untreated water to the laboratory so we can see what will happen in the flocculator.
We are now going to try to determine the quantity of chemicals that are applied to get a particular water source fit for drinking. It's a 1% solution strength of aluminum sulfate.
The jar test shows how much aluminum sulfate will be needed to purify the water in the plant. The impurities in the water and the aluminum sulfate bond together and create flocks that settle to the bottom of the jar. As this happens, the water at the top of the jar becomes clearer.
We have aluminum sulfate, hydrated lime, HTH, and chlorine gas. Those are the chemicals we use for water treatment.
The dictated solution strength from the laboratory is then mixed in these chemical pumps. The water and the chemicals run through their assigned pipes. Back at the flocculator, we can see how this process works in the treatment plant. Here, the right dose of aluminum sulfate is pumped into the water. In the water treatment plant, the water with the flocks in it is pumped into a big round clarifier. Here are our 2 buckets of water again. They now contain aluminum sulfate flocks. The water is pumped into the clarifier where the flocks get bigger and heavier. They fall to the bottom of the tank. The flocks form a brown residue called sludge, which is pumped out from the bottom of the tank.
The sludge goes to the channel and then goes back to the river.
At the same time, the clean water is released from the top of the tank. This water is now ready for the final filtering stage. The water flows through a filter made of a layer of sand and gravel that is 1 meter thick. 90% of all impurities left in the water stays behind in these sand filters. The filtered water is tested for acidity and purity. Lime is added to bring the water to the neutral pH level of 7, and chlorine is added to disinfect it. The water, which is now fit for drinking, is pumped into the reservoirs. Water is clean, safe, and ready to drink.
The involvement of the federal government in water resources development is through the River Basin Development Authorities, RBDAs. The River Basin Development Authorities have identified various ongoing projects that will deliver over 150,000 hectares of land for additional irrigation in the short term. It will also upscale water supply in various areas by over 25%. In the long term, the river basin will achieve over 300,000 hectares of land for irrigation and upscale of water supply in various areas by over 30%.
In the initial concept of the river basins, they were centers for food production. They developed, they accelerated, they were established to acquire lands, develop the lands, and hand them over to farmers, essentially for food production. They were engaged in other forms of agricultural productions, fisheries. They had fish ponds, piggeries, livestock, food multiplication, everything that worked towards increased food production and increased food security. But over the years, through various reviews, amendments, and policy changes, they were almost confined to water resources production.
We hope that we can get the river basins back. Agriculture is working with us to send back extension workers to the river basins, and we'll see what we can do. But the river basins are critical to moving forward, and I think government is a way to address that part.
The Nigerian water sector has significant potential to contribute to the development of the economy. The provision of potable water for cooking and drinking and the construction of dams for hydroelectricity are all relevant for economic development, while irrigation facilities across the country have helped the nation to support its growing population without solely depending on rain-fed agriculture. The existence of dams and irrigation schemes has contributed to urban development of several communities and induced socio-economic improvements of the residents. The water sector has a major role to play in the sustenance and further development of the nation's industrial sector, especially in food and beverages, textile, pharmaceutical, among others. The supply of potable water holds the key to the elimination of water-related diseases such as cholera, typhoid, dysentery, river blindness, and malnutrition. Fortunately, Nigeria as a nation is endowed with huge water resources with the capacity to meet our requirements across all facets of life. It will require significant capital to transform the stated objectives and requirements into available water resources for domestic and industrial consumption. The amount of resources required to maintain the dams and irrigation facilities, as well as keep the taps running, will require the private sector's participation.
We have realized that we cannot do it alone, so we're working in collaboration with other sister ministries like the Ministry of Agri. Our irrigation project We are doing that in collaboration with them. For the small hydros, we are working in collaboration with the Ministry of Power. For the training of the young people on the repair of hand pumps, we are working in close collaboration with the Ministry of Labor and Productivity. Other ministries that we have close collaboration with include the Ministry of Environment and also the Ministry of Education in terms of promoting sanitation and hygiene in our schools. We have to do this very closely with the Ministry of Education.
Thanks for staying with us. Don't forget to send your views and comments to waterforlivetv@yahoo.com. That's waterforlivetv@yahoo.com. Until next week, when we bring you another interesting episode, do stay with us. And remember, always pay your water bills promptly. On behalf of the entire crew, I am your presenter saying a big thank you, and I am Pei Bentu Akwada.